Ignition sequence starts. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and I forgot to clear my throat again. Listen, before I get going, I got a lot of good Ripple stuff here today. But before I get going, I wanted to briefly let you watch this little intro on a new painting on Masterworks. Masterworks, the link's in the top of the description. They're one of my sponsors, and I've been buying art for the first time in my life. Well, not tokenized, but securitized art through Masterworks. I wanted to show it to you.
Our latest offering is a vibrant painting by Cecily Brown titled Fairyfeller. Although she was born in England, Cecily Brown has lived in New York City since the early 1990s. After working in a mostly figurative style, the artist's paintings underwent a stylistic shift in the late 1990s, and her work became largely abstract and subsequently grew in...
Who would have thought that a redneck in South Georgia would be educating themselves on fine art out of New York, with a company out of New York City back in the day. Anyway, if this is something you wanted to check out further, there's a link in the top of the description. Now, here's an interesting thread. Check this out. Wrath of Kahneman, a theory Q. If XRP were to increase to, say, $10 with no escrow, 1 trillion at high velocity with ODL, wouldn't it act increasingly like a stable coin, perhaps even almost USD pegged given current FX routes today, or at least approach a globo dollar perhaps? No need to at me with flip the switch takes. That is not the discussion here. What I'm wondering is, if you assume the success of XRP, wouldn't it behoove the U.S. to create positive regulations to maintain USD hegemony reinforced on the XRP ledger? On the other hand, to ignore and regulate XRPL by enforcement really is short-sighted cronyism. Anyways, watching some of the development charts, thinking about the meaning of the velocity for growth, and Digital Perspectives weighs in and says, yes, and he's right here. Yes, I've been talking about this since I started my channel. XRP equals Global Stablecoin. Welcome to the club. They'll call you crazy soon, but James Wallace describes it every time he talks. Yes, it's certainly been talked about a while. I guess my question is in particular, here's where the controversy is here, folks, is that a lot of people like myself have always thought that somehow, we don't know how they would do it, but somehow XRP, the price of XRP would become stable, okay, become a stable price. And a lot of people, the controversial things when you say, ooh, don't say price set. If you say that, oh, you're a jerk, whatever. But somehow, and see, David Schwartz himself has said that to do what they need to do, the price needs to be, it can't be low, it needs to be high. So how do you get there? And so that's kind of what I see when I see this thread. Now, so I've always believed that somehow, some way, I don't know how, but somehow this price is going to be very high, maybe uncomfortably high. And maybe that's what people, oh, it's still only 30-something cents. And so just because you can't see something now, I tell my son all the time. My son throws about 80 miles an hour. And I said, son, I don't know how it works. I can't tell you exactly how it works, son. But I want you to write down 90 miles an hour if that's what your goal is. Write down 90 miles an hour. And you just write it down. Somehow, once you write something down, things just kind of tend to happen. Well, I can't tell you how the uncomfortably high price of XRP happens, but there's not a doubt in my mind that we do get to an uncomfortable price. Okay, no question in my mind. And that's after. Trust me, folks. This is after, and what I'm about to show you may kind of make your mind come around to what I'm talking about anyway. But when you make 2 to 3 videos on one company and one digital asset for all this time, and you see enough things and that's all you ever look at, everything, it's like I say a lot of times on this channel, you can see around corners. And that's how I feel like it is. We are not crazy. There are no coincidences, and we've been over this target for a long time. Now, you think that all sounds crazy? Then I want you to listen to this. All right. Remember, like I told you the other day, I don't think this Luna UST collapse was by coincidence. There were a lot of rumors that BlackRock and Citadel were behind the takedown of Luna. Okay? We've seen too much, folks. Okay, I don't believe I believe it was intentionally taken down so that the regulators could hold their hand up and then point to this. This right here, this guy right here is Michael Su, I think I'm saying that right, acting U.S. comptroller of the currency, and he's commenting on the aftermath of the UST Luna collapse. And then after that, I included some Chris Larson comments that many of you, if you've never seen them, will find quite interesting, because Chris Larson has been talking about this since way back in 2013-14 that I've seen.
So I think there's a lot of focus right now on what's the scope of stable coins and how stable do they need to be. I fully support all those discussions. I think another angle that needs to be discussed is interoperability. Shouldn't all US dollar stable coins be fungible with each other? Wouldn't that be a better system? Because right now, crypto is getting more and more fragmented. Each blockchain is like its own railway gauge, and there's more and more of them every day. That's not a very stable system. So I think that system is trying to find an equilibrium where more interoperable, the better, but it's got to be stable. And so I think that there's going to be a search for that, and we want to be part of that conversation.
But again, until you have the interoperability of money, which we don't have yet for 2 billion people, you're tantalized by it, but you can't act on it. That's a huge problem, right? So they know that we need, this key interoperability, this very basic infrastructure layer that links M-Pesa to Bank of America to what's going on in the Japanese financial system, and you don't have that, right? That's what's blocking a key thing happening here. And I think they agreed also that you need something like the Interledger protocol. That's what's baked into Mojaloop, as well as many other very specific technologies that would help banks and central banks and governments in the developing world to really kind of leap ahead. So we need something in addition to a very efficient distributed ledger, and we think XRP Ledger is the most efficient out there. But also you need derivatives of this blockchain technology, and specifically interoperability protocols. So we believe in something very strong called ILP, Interledger Protocol. And so very differently from digital assets, that's a way of wiring together all of the world's ledgers, all of the world's currencies, so that just like the internet, value can now move like data does. So we call that an Internet of Value. And Internet of Value needs both of those things. It needs interoperability protocol, which is not a ledger, doesn't hold state, doesn't have a currency, super low level, something that every country, every company can get behind, which means it has to be very feature light. And then something that is very efficient in terms of how the digital asset works. And we think the biggest use case initially is going to be for rewiring our financial plumbing, how payments move around the world. Yeah. We think that's the most broken kind of aspect of globalization today. Data moves freely, goods move freely. We've talked about this before. It costs 4 cents to send a shirt clear across the country because of the shipping container. Yeah. We love shipping containers. But with money, that's broken. It takes days to move money cross-border. Yeah. It costs a fortune for particularly the people in the developing world. And it's also closed because it's a bilateral system rather than being an internet system. So we need that Internet of Value to be developed. And that's what we spend our time working on, is a replacement for SWIFT and correspondent banking. How do you get all of the payment providers, all of the wallets onto ILP? And then how do you use XRP as on-demand liquidity so that all of these providers don't have to keep balances all over the world because the process is so inefficient. We think that's the winning kind of killer app. And then I think the last group talked about a Cambrian explosion. Yeah. Then you get that Cambrian explosion.
So how about them apples? Now, then we've got this. Matt Hamilton took someone to school. Matt Hamilton used to work at Ripple. Very smart guy. Victor Durant, sometimes I feel sorry for these people. I know nothing about, it's kind of like saying, I know nothing about something, and now I'm going to tell you what I know about this thing. It's like, what? I know nothing about Ripple XRP other than it aims to make cross-border payments cheap. But is it actually being used? I'm curious how has it maintained a top 10 position? No DEXs, no smart contracts, no NFTs, and it's an ongoing lawsuit with the SEC. And Matt Hamilton says no DEX. The XRP ledger was the very first DEX. It was the first blockchain to allow the tokenization of assets. It has NFTs and native NFT support, is currently being voted on by the community for the activation. Most SEC functionality is built in, but also hooks being developed. The reason that XRP has stayed in the top 10 is because it works. I love that line. It does what it says on the tin. The XRP ledger is still the best blockchain for payments and transferring value around. It is decentralized, secure, fast, cheap, scalable, well-tested, stood the test of time. Poor Victor. But that was a great reply. Now, here we go, folks. This might be the phone call of the decade or the century, because I will be calling in if I'm available for sure. Breaking from James Phelan, call-in information, the conference scheduled for Tuesday, June 7th, to discuss internal documents related to Hinman's June 14th, 2018 speech has been posted. It's below. There's the phone number right there. Folks, we get to call in and listen to this. Do you know what show this should be for the SEC attorneys? Because I can't wait. I can't remember the name of that one lawyer I think it's Brad Garlinghouse's lawyer. He's like a gunslinger. I can't wait to listen I hope he's in this so I can listen to him tear these people to pieces. Because at this point, all they have on their side is lies. All truth is now on the side of Ripple and Chris Larson and Brad Garlinghouse. And these guys, and everybody knows it. And I think the judge wants everybody to hear this, because I think the judge, if I'm this judge, when do you have enough? When do you lose your ever-loving you-know-what on these SEC attorneys? Because this has gotten pathetic and ridiculous. Now, Leonidas put out a great, another clip of Brad Garlinghouse from recently. I think that, this is when he's in Davos. While in Davos, he's talking to Cointelegraph. Listen to this clip.
Hi, my name is Joe Hall with Cointelegraph. I'm here today with Brad from XRP. How are you doing today, Brad?
From XRP, Brad didn't correct him. Wait a minute.
Interesting talk this morning, part of the Filecoin Foundation, and you brought up some really interesting points. The first one was regarding that crypto is no longer a bad word in Davos. What we like to hear, right?
Yeah, for sure.
What's it going to take for crypto to be the word in Davos?
Well, I think the trend line is positive. As I said, 3 or 4 years ago, I remember I was just arriving and my time zones were all messed up. And somebody said to me, they were asserting that crypto still is a bad word in Davos. And I think we've come a long way, as evidenced by the fact that, just the things like Filecoin Foundation. I mean, just the presence of crypto here in Davos is dramatically different. On stage now, we have the FTX president, the number of speakers here from crypto. I think as leaders across the world learn how these technologies can actually benefit their constituents, benefit their economies, they're going to use them because there are real benefits. And so I think we're seeing that happen every day. And, 2 years from now, I think it'll be even more positive.
Fantastic. Yeah, I mean, we're here on the backdrop of, there's NFTs and crypto here, just in front of us as well, looking down onto the WEF. You mentioned something really interesting regarding NFTs and there being a real use case with carbon credits. Could you perhaps expand on that point today?
So I have been a little bit critical. NFTs, I think back in December I was interviewed and I said that they were underhyped, despite the fact that there's obviously a lot of hype in certain parts of the NFT market.
Absolutely.
I think the tokenization of various assets is underhyped. And so one of the examples I talked about on stage with the CNBC team was this idea around carbon credits. And so the carbon credit marketplaces have been challenged because of, frankly, fraudulent carbon credits and people trading what actually aren't carbon credit offsets. And the ability to have the traceability, the ability to have an open visible to anyone. Trading is, I think, very important. Can really, I think, revolutionize how carbon credit marketplaces and the efficacy of carbon credit marketplaces. Ripple just announced last week our commitment to invest $100 million in that segment, and a few other announcements coming in that regard. But we're excited to use the XRP ledger for that purpose because of its scalability and low cost.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, regarding that speculation and this hype that often comes up in crypto, we're now in this sort of crypto winter, and against the backdrop of perhaps a global recession. Bitcoin's around the 30K mark, I think, at the time of recording. Yeah, and you mentioned again that there should be some real use cases and real utility in 2022. Would you be able to share with us what those are in your eyes?
Well, I mean, what Ripple has been focused on for years is really the real use case of cross-border payments, and that there's a lot of friction and cost associated with moving money across borders, and it's usually quite slow, quite expensive, and frankly, very error-prone. Yeah. So we use XRP for that purpose, and that has driven billions and billions of dollars of transactions through XRP, using that as a very efficient, low-cost bridge. Mm-hmm. But I do think, I don't think we're living in a single-chain world. I've spoken critically about kind of tribalism in crypto, and I think it's a multi-chain world. There are going to be a lot of different utility use cases. Ripple just focused primarily on that. Obviously, this new initiative we've announced around the carbon credit marketplace. But I think there's going to be a myriad of different chains focused on different use cases. Ripple is going to continue to focus on enterprise use cases. But there's a lot of consumer use cases I think are interesting. Certainly Filecoin is one that has been around for a while, and I don't know what kind of traction they've had, but I think a compelling use case. Okay, very good. Anything else you'd like to do today? I know your time is very precious at a conference like this.
All right, let's see here. I don't want to go too long on this. Let's see if I wanted to show you this. This is from John Deaton. Yesterday, he was talking about how the SEC said they XRP first appeared on their watch list on March 29th, 2018, which just happened to be the day after that venture capital working group met with them and prevented the safe harbor, which became the Ethereum free pass. There are no coincidences, folks. And John Deaton retweeted it again. He said, a year ago, I said it appeared a deal was struck. Clayton met with Gensler several times before leaving the SEC, including the day before the lawsuit was filed. I said Ripple and XRP were offered up as a regulatory sacrificial lamb. Ethereum gets a pass and insiders win billions. Okay, folks? I think John Deaton just nailed it. John Deaton just nailed it. So I just wrote that down as a thumbnail. Insiders win billions, because that's what went on here, folks. They never thought that we would find it. They never thought that a bunch of random people all around the world would be pissed off enough because these people were messing with their children's futures just to pad their own pockets. And that's what happened, and we changed history because of it. So take it. There you go. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe, hit the like button, and tell your friends and family to never underestimate a bunch of pissed off Americans that are just people that work, or pissed off people in general that are just people that are working hard to take care of their families, and they don't want a bunch of corrupt, you-know-what pieces of garbage to mess with their children's futures.